everyone, Tony D with a hot take on the virus. Now, I don't have a lot of intel on the virus, only stuff I watch on other YouTubers, quite frankly. But I'm just doing the math in my head, and the math goes something like this. The coronavirus has a 2% death rate. Where this spreads, and it spreads very, very easily, very, very quickly. It has about a 2-week incubation period, meaning that you'll walk around for 2 weeks with it and not even know you have it, giving it to everybody. It stays on surfaces for up to 4 to 5 days. And, everybody gets pretty sick who gets it. And then 2% of the people, get even worse and have to be well, more than 2% have to be hospitalized. But out of that, 2% of them die. So the math is, if it hits the whole country, and I think it likely will, it means that 7 million people will be in danger of dying across the United States. And it won't just be the elderly and the very young. It will be anyone, because, the doctor who died in Wuhan was only 34. Now, he was working with patients who were very sick, obviously, but still, he was a 34-year-old man, and he was being treated. It is possible that the Chinese government wanted him to die for speaking out, and that's a possibility. Or it is possible that the Chinese government has been lying through their teeth about everything about the virus, and it's much more deadly than we imagine. There are rumors floating around that the crematoriums are running nonstop in China and can't even keep up with all the bodies. Part of the problem is that may be the result of the medical supplies running out in China and the government keeping that quiet. When you have a centralized system, that's really easy to happen because it typically cannot handle a lot of stress all at once. You can handle things when times are good, but when times are bad and you have a real crisis, when stuff runs out, it's just, things have run out. You're going to have to wait. In the United States, we have a better system, so it's likely that it will take a lot before our systems are so overwhelmed that we have a problem in terms of treating people. Hopefully, the virus will slow to a point where it will either not infect enough people that we can handle it, in our hospitals, or that it doesn't spread quickly and spring hits and we're all good. Maybe it gets warm enough that the virus can't survive. But it is likely, say some estimates, that 60 to 80% of the population will become infected. That of the whole planet, by the way. That's a lot of people. And there's also a possibility that they will have some kind of vaccine within the next few months. Won't be ready for humans, but they may accelerate that testing process in some way that they'll just start trying it on humans out of desperation. But I think we have to really, prepare for the worst. You prepare for the worst and hope for the best. The best is, this all blows over like SARS did and some of the other ones. The worst case scenario is probably 2% or more of the people in your area just die within a very short period of time, probably within a month or two. So that could mean, like in my town, there'd be like 40 funerals across a 2-month span. That's a lot of funerals in 2 months. I mean, that's almost a funeral a day. And when you talk about a bigger town, like my folks live in a town, I guess it's probably, I want to say it's probably like 50K. I mean, you're talking about 1,000 people. And then when you're talking about a city like New York City, you're talking about almost 200,000 people. That's a lot of bodies. That's going to fill the morgues. And, when you're talking about big cities too, you're talking about homeless people who, they'll cough themselves to death on the street before, they go to a hospital. They'll be at death's door before anybody helps them. You know, and so there's literally going to be bodies in the street. Um, and you need to be prepared. And I think the key is, of course, do the common sense things. Wash your hands. I've been wearing a mask in public. I'm getting looks, but I don't care. The mask is probably not going to give me a whole lot of protection, but I figure at the very least, I don't want to get regular flu before the coronavirus hits. So at least maybe it'll help me with that. Also, you need to protect your eyes. I got glasses on, so I figure this will probably be enough protection for the time being. But goggles would be the best thing. I mean, a hazmat suit would be the best thing, or not going, out at all. You want to stock up on some basics. You know, maybe get a case of water, get some rice, get some pasta. I'm Italian. I got pasta. So, just have some around just in case you're trapped in the house. What you need are your sick supplies, right? Like you get sick and you're sick for a week or whatever. You got to have supplies. You got to have some soup and some cold medicine and ibuprofen and stuff like that. You have all those supplies. You're probably good to go. You may just ride out the virus in your house and hopefully, be fine at the end of it and have somewhat of an immunity. If things get really bad, you might be looking at businesses shuttering their doors for a week or two, maybe more, as no one can show up to work because everybody's sick. Or nobody wants to go to these businesses anyway because everybody's afraid of getting sick. So once that hits, everything's going to grind to a halt, I think, at least for a couple of weeks. Which means, people aren't going to be going to work. They're not going to be getting paid. Some of them will go to work sick, as people do, because they need the money. And some people will just go to work because, I feel fine, I'm good, it's just a cold, whatever. And other people just will freak out and do stupid things. So that's when you want to have the supplies and not have to go anywhere. So when people start to panic, you could just sit at home and say, well, I'll just eat whatever I have here, and I'm just going to ride this out. So the key is not to panic. And if you see other people panicking, avoid them. Don't, if you see a store, if you pull up into a store and you see people rushing out of the place and a window breaks and people come running out screaming with armloads of food, just drive away. Just go somewhere else. It's not really worth it to get involved in the looting of the store, even if that you really need. This is America, there's plenty of places for food. I'm sure you'll find, if you have to go to CVS and pay top dollar, I'm sure there's some soup in CVS or wherever. You'll find a place. But if you don't want to, have to worry, stock up now. I have a little bit of a stockpile. It's not much, but probably get me through a week, maybe two. And my only worry is running out of cold medicine because I think that'll go first. But hopefully, if I get sick, I could just ride it out and not have to go to the hospital. Because the hospital will be the scary thing if it turns into coronavirus and everybody's quarantined and you're stuck at the hospital. It's a real pain. And could be very scary. It could be deadly. Because who knows, being in the hospital with even more viruses and germs, that could just make the whole thing worse. It can mutate. And, who knows? I mean, I don't think we're looking at Armageddon, but you never know. These could be the tapes we look at when we're bored, 2 years from now when we're down to 5% of the population. Oh, yeah, I remember making this video back when I was optimistic and hopeful that the human race would survive. I had food back then. Look at my clothes. They were so nice. Now they're all ragged and full of radiation and mites and God knows what else. No, hopefully it won't come to that. Hopefully we survive. Hopefully little Joan survives. Joan, you good? You good for the coming apocalypse? She's just looking at me. She doesn't know what I'm saying. All right, well, that's it for now. Stay safe and keep washing your hands. That's my big advice.